It was recently revealed that the director of the FBI almost fell for an internet scam by revealing his personal bank account information. And the government of the state of West Virginia got caught in a scam once. I'm Dan Ringer, and we'll talk about internet safety right now on The Law Works.
From West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
The Law Works is made possible by the generous support of the West Virginia State Bar and the Monongalia County Bar Association.
People, companies, and even governments are being regularly scammed on the internet. What do you need to know? My guests are Deputy West Virginia Attorney General Jill Miles and the Chief Investigator for the West Virginia Attorney General's Office, Derek Walker. Thank you for joining us.
Thank
Jill,
you.
it's good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Dan.
You're here a lot. Well, you're here frequently.
Too much.
No, frequently. Internet safety, internet fraud is something that has become more and more and more in the news over the last several years, and it's something I know the Attorney General's office is interested in. What are you doing?
One of the more exciting things that we've been doing this year is we've partnered with AARP. And what we've been doing is we've been going all over the state educating seniors about internet safety. And we call the event Ready, Set, Internet. And there's all kinds of components. There's a hands-on training for seniors. There's a cyber safety training. And then there's the training that we do, which is actually we do a quiz. It's an interactive quiz where we give the seniors a true-false question. They get to vote. They have transponders, like playing Jeopardy, basically. And we give them 20 seconds to answer the question, and then we go and we talk about the answer. And it's very, very, very effective.
I've always wanted to be on Jeopardy.
Okay, well, you ready?
Well, and I'm a senior. I was a junior last year. Sure, let's go ahead. Let's take this quiz.
This is the actual quiz that we use, and we break, one thing I didn't mention is we actually break the group up into teams. One team's the Hatfields, the other team's the McCoys, and we can tell how people are voting, and at the end, they get a prize.
Do I get a lifeline?
You get a lifeline, that's right.
Okay, well, let's have at it.
Well, let's start with this first question. Using your credit card for an internet purchase is safer than paying by check. True or false?
Yes. But, yes, meaning it's one or the other, true or false. One, I think, should always use a credit card if you're doing an internet transaction. But that doesn't mean that you can't mail a check directly, because a lot of businesses would just as soon accept a check. If you use a check, you don't expose your credit card information and that massive line of credit. But if you use a credit card, you don't provide the checking account information that could allow somebody to access your checking account and your massive balance if you've got one. Do I get a none of the above or all of the above?
True or false, Dan?
Oh, false. False, because I can make a case on either side.
Okay, so you think using your credit card is not safer?
I think using a check is slower, but it's probably safer.
Really? Okay.
Whoops. I didn't like the way she said really. Okay, what
do
is
you
it,
think?
Derek?
What's the answer, Derek?
Well, the answer to the true or false would be it's true. It is safer to use your credit card when shopping on the internet than it is to actually use a check. And the basics is a fraudster, if they would receive your check, they've got any information, all the information that they need on that check in order to compromise your checking account.
That's true, and there are programs and paper out there available
Right.
where you can print your own checks at home, which I do. Is I have a lot of checking accounts through
Right.
my business, my law practice, and I print my own checks for those accounts. And if I have one of your checks, I have 100% of the information I need to counterfeit
Correct.
one of your checks.
Correct. And then on the other side of that coin is if the fraudster is basically fraudulently selling products online and you've sent them the check and they've cashed your check, you never receive your product, you never get your money back. But with a credit card transaction, under federal law, the maximum amount of liability based upon this fraudulent transaction that you're responsible for is a maximum of $50.
So if they, even if they're not fraudulently selling products, if they take my credit card information, send me the stuffed rabbit or whatever it is that I bought, they can still use credit card information to attack or to raid my
Correct.
credit card account, but because that's a fraudulent transaction, I'm only liable for the first $50 of that.
Correct. You contact your credit card company, you tell them that you've been a victim of a fraudulent scheme on the internet, and the credit card company is required by law to investigate and credit you back the money once they've determined that it is fraud.
And historically, some credit card companies will even forego that $50.
Correct.
Although in today's environment, I don't know if that's something that's going on because credit card deals are changing.
Right.
But if they're counterfeiting checks on my checking account, not only is there no limitation on the liability, but it can sometimes take weeks before I or my bank even know that it's happened.
Correct. Yeah. That fraudulent check could go through the system and take a couple weeks to clear, and then by the time you've gotten your statement, the money's been removed from your account, and other legitimate transactions could bounce, causing you over limit fees, overdraft fees, and so forth.
And
You know, it's interesting that you mentioned the check, because that is one of the biggest scams, is people on the internet are getting consumers to wire money to unknown places. They tell them, here, we're going to send you a certified check, and we want you to take that check, and we want you to take it to your bank, and you get to keep, and we want you to deposit it, and you get to keep 5%, and we want you to wire the remaining amount to wherever.
And that seems like an obvious scam, just giving you X percentage of the check for your kindness. A variation on that scheme is we bought a product from you on eBay or over the internet. The product was $20, but we've got a guy who owes us $1,000 there in the United States. He's going to send you a certified check or whatever secure form of payment, a money order, something that sounds good. For $1,000, you take out your $20 and take out another $10 for the hassle, and you send us your check for the balance. Don't ever do that. And by the way, while we're thinking about it, no one in Nigeria is going to send you money for any reason. Don't fall for that. And but no one in Canada is going to do it, and probably no one in Florida is going to do it
Okay,
either.
well, let me ask you this, Dan.
Okay.
Once a bank cashes a certified check, the consumer is no longer responsible for these funds if the bank later discovers that the check is counterfeit. Let's take the scenario we just talked about.
Okay.
You get the check from the fraudster, you take it down to your bank, you put it in the bank, you wire the fraudster, let's say it's for $5,000, you wire the fraudster $4,000. Later, the bank discovers that the check is counterfeit. Who's stuck holding the bag?
Fraudster sounds like some kind of little Jeep car that would be fun to drive, doesn't it? Okay, once I get the money,
Right.
I go into the bank, and it doesn't make any difference to the question if I cash the check or if I deposit it in my checking account. I'm concerned that the bank might have,
You only have 20 seconds.
okay,
No, I'm teasing.
once I get the money, it's mine. So the
So
bank
you're
is
saying
stuck.
that there are
The
no-
bank's stuck for
The
it.
bank is stuck
The
with
bank's
it.
stuck for it, unless I give them permission to take it out of my bank account. So
Okay, so the bank should have known, right? I mean, basically,
that's
you
what
would.
banks are for.
Right, sure.
Yeah.
What's the answer, Derek?
Unfortunately, that answer's false. The bank isn't responsible. You take the check into the bank, to your bank, to have it cashed. The banks usually attach it to your account without your knowledge, because you've got the agreement where you have a checking account with them that they will cash checks for you.
So this is why so many banks say, if you're not a customer, we're not going to cash your
Exactly,
checks.
exactly, because they won't cash checks for non-customers because that agreement doesn't exist. So what happens is it can take, the fraudsters are very smart. They will change one of the routing numbers on a legitimate account to where it has to be automatic, or it can't be automatically cleared, has to be manually cleared through the Federal Reserve, which means these checks can take sometimes up to 3 to 4 weeks to come back to the bank as counterfeit. In that time period, you've done taken the money and wired it off to the crook, thinking, well, I've got the money, I've waited 2 weeks, the bank hasn't notified me that it's fraudulent. And unfortunately, that it can take that long for it to come back as a counterfeit check.
But that would also mean, again, to use the eBay example, if I'm selling something on eBay, somebody sends me a check and I'm prudent and I say, you have to wait till your check clears before I send you the goods, but you don't get a letter from your bank saying, congratulations, the check you just deposited cleared. The only way you know is when you reconcile your statement the next month, or you get a letter telling you that they have debited money from your account. That takes weeks. And in the meantime, I've sold something. The guy sent me a forged, bad, messed up check, and then calls me 10 days later and says, you haven't sent my TV set or stereo or whatever it is. Send it now. You've got my money. You've had it for 2 weeks. I lose the product I sold, and I lose the money that I thought I had. That's larceny.
But Derek, what they say is the bank will say the funds are available. Why are they making the funds available?
Because under federal law, the banks have to make the funds available to the consumer when they come in to deposit it.
So
in the
I can
account.
spend money that I never really got, and then I'm on the hook for paying it back.
Correct.
Yeah, actually, Dan, we had a consumer in Wayne County that fell victim to an internet scam. It was a work-at-home scam.
If work at home is always a scam.
Right. So he was sent this check. He was told, and I won't go into the details of the scam because that's not really what matters, but the basic idea was he was told, take the check, take it down to your Wayne County bank, deposit it in the bank, and wire us a portion of it. Well, he did it the first time. The second time he did it, he walked into the bank, a bank he'd been banking at for years, a man on a fixed income. The teller realizes it's the same guy, calls the police, they come in, they arrest him, they handcuff him, and they take him off to jail.
The victim.
The victim, that's right. And his neighbor happened to be surfing the internet, found our website, because this is happening all the time, and called us up, and Derek and I had to really convince the prosecutor that this elderly West Virginian who lived on a fixed Social Security income, who walks in with a $5,000 check, wasn't really the crook.
But you can see why the recipient of the check, that is, the person to whom this bad check is passed, the bank in this case,
Right.
or the corner grocery store or whatever, might think that the person who gave them the check was the person who made up the check.
Right.
I don't have so much problem with it. It's unfair, but as they say, life is not fair. But if you have somebody go to bat for you to explain the circumstances, there's still going to be a little investigation done. But
I mean, the bottom line is if you get a check in the mail from somebody you don't know,
be careful.
and they ask you to wire some money back,
Yeah.
chances are it's not legitimate. How do you know if it is legitimate? How do you know when you're on a website if it's legitimate? How do you know
The
if it's secure?
website?
Let me ask you this question. As long as a retail website advertises that it is secure or displays a padlock icon, it is safe to use your credit card on that site or enter financial information. So you go to a website, you want to buy something, you see the little padlock on the right-hand corner. Can you feel secure?
The last time we did the Law Works show about internet security, we relied, we meaning me, or I and the guest, relied on that padlock or an S after HTTPS, meaning it was a secure website. But I have gotten smarter, I think, over the years, and I don't know about how accurate it is, how safe it is just because you see the padlock or the S on HTTP. But I do know that once the company or the site gets your information, they can do with it what they can, what they want to. So I would have to say, no, don't rely on that. Know who you're doing business with and know what kind of business is going to be done. But still, if somebody puts all that information in a notebook computer and leaves it on the front seat of their car, it's still at risk.
So,
Did that
Derek,
take longer than 20 seconds?
Is it safer? Can you feel secure if you see that padlock icon?
Just because you see the padlock, you don't always feel secure. Or like you're saying, the HTTPS. Those are the clues to look at if you go directly to your bank's website, for example, and you know you're at your bank's website, and you get the S or the padlock, you know you've got a secure connection to your bank. However, if you decide you want to go online and go shopping, and you do a search for a product you're looking for, and you end up at just some random website, it may be a secure website to process your transaction securely, But if you're dealing with a crook, you're just being able to send your financial information directly to a crook, and other crooks out there just can't intercept your data.
So that you're dealing with a secure website, it's just
Correct.
the people who own it are dishonest.
Could be.
In my own defense,
Exactly.
the guest on the previous show where we decided we could rely on that was the chief of security for Microsoft Corporation.
Right.
And in those days, that would have been safe if it was a Microsoft website or if you knew who you were doing business with. But times change. Just because you feel safe today doesn't mean you should feel safe tomorrow. You have to educate yourself. For years and years, you've heard the phrase, be an informed consumer. That phrase is more important today than it was yesterday and will be more important yet tomorrow. It's tough to say if you want to use a technology like the internet, you have to become truly computer and internet savvy, but it's true. You do have to do those things or you won't get to order all those nifty, wonderful deals from overseas that you see advertised.
Well, let me tell you about what's happening, and this is something I read about recently. As a cost-saving measure, the Social Security Administration will announce future increases in Social Security monthly benefit payouts by email instead of through the United States Postal Service. True or false?
Social Security Administration is just announcing. I would say that's true. I mean, we use internet to disseminate information and email all the time.
Derek?
Actually, it's false.
This one I don't
Yeah.
understand. Okay.
The last time that the Social Security Administration announced an increase in benefits, fraudsters took to the internet and started alerting seniors that you need to verify your account information with us. They use the phishing scams. And Social Security Administration, becoming wise to this, basically knows not to do it by email because anyone can spoof an email address. Around tax time, you hear of people spoofing email addresses saying they're with the IRS and sending out the phishing emails. It looks legitimate, like it is from the IRS, and the email ends in irs.gov, but it's really from a crook, and they direct you to a website through this phishing email.
Tell the audience what phishing is. It sounds like something you do on a lazy Saturday afternoon.
Well, you relate fishing to where you go out with a pole and some bait and you cast your line and see what you can catch. Well, the crooks do basically the exact same thing. They use a computer as their tool or their line, and they come up with some nice words to put in an email message as their bait to get people to fall for a scam. And then they get the fish on the hook and they steal your financial information. It's pretty much what they do with a phishing scam. They cast it out in an email. They'll tell you that they're with your bank. We need you to click on this link to verify your account information. And they basically just take the information and use it as they please.
I have a PayPal account, and it is now legion fake scam emails purporting to be from PayPal that come with PayPal addresses. Now, for those of you who don't know, PayPal is an online service that allows you to pay merchants through their service using a credit card or debit card. It's a layer of protection between your accounts and the merchant. And that's a nice idea. But what's happening is these, you call them fraudsters, I call them criminals. These criminals are asking for information of you to purportedly be sent to PayPal. And you log on to this website that you think is a PayPal or sometimes a bank account, and then they collect information from you. It's extraordinarily dangerous. The director of the FBI almost fell for one of these scams. He thought he was talking to his bank online, and he came down to the last line. He started to enter some secure information, a password or an account number, and he paused, got up from the computer, went to his wife and said, this is what I'm doing. This seems a little odd to me. What do you think? She pointed out that it was, in fact, a fraud and that he was no longer allowed to do internet banking. So the director of the FBI's wife shut him down. Right. But that shows you how gullible even the most serious and the most educated people can be. I once got scammed like that. I don't know why I did it, but I entered my username and my password for a site that I did business with. As soon as I did it, I realized what had happened and instantaneously went back to that site, changed my password, changed my username to protect my account, and nothing happened. But I'm sure that information was sold somewhere as soon as they gathered it. Right. Okay, let's
All right.
next.
Seniors have grandchildren, right?
Some.
Some, and what kids do these days is they go on social networking sites, right? So here's the question. When you remove your profile from MySpace or Facebook, the pictures and videos and other data can no longer be accessed. Now, MySpace, Facebook is a way people are getting online and communicating sort of as a community.
Social networking
Right.
sites, right. Well, I'd like to believe that's true.
So you put your picture of you were at a party and you were drunk, and you put the picture up on the website, and then you thought, you know what, I don't like this MySpace, I don't like Facebook.
I don't like that picture.
I don't like that picture, I'm taking this all down. It's no longer available.
Well, I'd like to think that's true, but I'm a little too computer savvy to believe that. The basic rule, it seems to me, is that information that flows across the internet never really goes away. It's going to be somewhere, even if I can't access it myself. Right?
You're correct. Once it's available on the internet for the world to see, basically, the world can continue to access it in one form or another, even after you remove it. Say you shared that picture with a friend, and the friend downloaded it to their hard drive. What's now on their hard drive? Well, they could share that picture with someone else through email or through other social networking sites. The internet also has like an internet archive of sorts, where you can go back and access websites in past versions, and there's nothing to prevent that archive from archiving your site prior to you taking it down.
And as an attorney, I can tell you I have seen that used in court. If somebody says, nope, that was never on my website, you can go back using and I'm not going to give you the web address for this machine because it's powerful and it's dangerous, and if somebody changes something, unless they're trying to get away with something, I don't think we ought to call them out. Your attorney knows how to find it. And I have seen it proven that the person was lying about it, that the information was on the website, or in anticipation of the litigation, the website was changed to make it appear benign or different from what it was originally. So yeah, again, things never go away if they were on the internet.
Right. You know, Dan, a couple times you've used eBay as an example. So let's do this question. After losing a bid for an item offered on an online auction, the seller contacts you a few days later and offers to sell you the same item for a price you have bid for. As long as the seller is registered with the auction, it is safe to purchase items from him outside the online auction site. I've actually had this happen to me.
So have I.
I have bid on something, wasn't the highest bidder. A few days later, I get an email from the person who was offering the product saying, look, you know, I will sell this to you for this price, or I've got a second one.
Or I found another one.
Is
Yeah.
that safe?
Well,
This question says it is.
my inclination would be to say it's as safe as buying something over eBay. And that is, people are as real as they are, not as real as they purport to be. There are, in my mind, there are two sets of reality. There's e-reality, which I can tell you anything about myself, and then there's real reality, which is kind of ironic that it has to be real reality. Real reality is what is. E-reality is what's purported to be over the internet. You can have a fraudulent fraudster, criminal, on eBay, and you can have one solicit you. It's a violation of the eBay contract to make an offer off the site, but it's probably as safe as buying it through eBay.
Okay, so you think it's true.
Yeah, I guess it would be. And you're going to tell me I'm wrong.
We're going to tell you wrong, Dan. The answer to that is actually false. And that's basically because, number one, the auction site does have some buyer protections built in by going through the auction. So it is less safe going outside of the auction for the purchase. What normally happens is, we talked earlier about wire transferring money. In a lot of these cases, when the seller wants you to go outside of the auction to do the transaction, they want you to use a money transfer service to wire them the funds. Well, once you wire them the funds are gone.
Yeah.
There's no recovery.
Yeah, we've referred a couple of times to the service or site called PayPal. PayPal's not perfect, and a lot of people have legitimate gripes about them, but it is it is a level of safety. How often are people really prosecuted for internet fraud? Does it really happen?
I don't think so.
There's been some cases where folks are brought, like you mentioned the case with the state of West Virginia.
Yes.
Right.
With the internet fraud. That's pending in federal court.
But that was a really, really big fraud. you'll get a prosecutor's attention with that. But for $100, you can't. So the takeaway, the moral of this is your safety depends on you. You really can't trust your local police department to catch the fraudster, the criminal in these things. You have to watch out for it yourself. Yes, in big interstate scams, the FBI will get involved, the Attorney General's office will get involved, but mostly what they can do is try to educate you, but you need to educate yourself too. Derek Walker, Jill Miles, thank you very much for being with us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you also for being with us. On behalf of the Law Works, I'm Dan Ringer. Good evening. If you want to know if you need a lawyer, you can discuss your problems with a lawyer by calling the West Virginia State Bar Helpline, toll-free, Tuesday evenings from 6 to 8 at 1-800-642-3617. On the LawWorks webpage at thelawworks.org, you'll find a listing of recent The LawWorks show topics, information on how to obtain copies of the programs, and additional information about this show's topic. You'll also find a list of legal resources that can help you answer your legal questions. If you'd like to recommend this program to a friend, you'll also find video of this program on thelawworks.org. If you would like to suggest a topic for a future The LawWorks show, or if you're a school teacher and would like to receive a copy of this program for classroom use, please send us an email to thelawworks@comcast.net.
The Law Works is produced in cooperation with the West Virginia State Bar, the Mountain State Bar, and the West Virginia University College of Law. The Law Works is made possible by the generous support of the West Virginia State Bar and the Monongalia County Bar Association.
From West Virginia Public Broadcasting.